Guys, what's a good sign that a woman is just using you? Your issues aren't worth talking about, but she will unload all of hers on you. I had a girl tell me she only talks to a guy because he buys her food when she asks. This guy was my friend, and was very interested in her. One-sidedness. When she expects you to do things that she wouldn't do herself. She doesn't act that interested when you are interested, flirting, contacting her, but when you stop, suddenly she is very interested and contacts you, a lot until you act interested again. The cycle then repeats. Does she ever ask you how you're doing, more than superficially, or seem interested in what's going on with your life? When she flirts with you all the time, and also everyone else, and asks you to come over to do complex electrical work and says she'll take you out to dinner, and you agree because you like the work and like being around her, but she brings her kids along and ignores you the entire time. Then when you're not around her she never texts or calls and just waves at you when you pass her at work every day, making no effort to talk to you whatsoever. And when you try to talk to her she gives you short answers like, yeah. Fuck you Liz. She never calls you by your name and you find out you're labeled, free food, in her phone. I was dating a girl who said she was too busy to go on a date on Saturday, and that she was only free on Tuesdays. She also said that she wanted to date other guys while dating me. She later admitted that she was cycling boyfriends through the week for free food. I dropped her like a bag of moldy tangerines. There are no signs big enough what will be visible through rose-tinted glasses. Pretty much the same as when any person is just using you, the relationship feels unbalanced and unequal, with you giving more than you are receiving. In a good relationship, friendship, whatever, both people are giving what they want to give without coercion and both feel adequately rewarded for it. Sometimes one person needs more, sometimes the other, but it evens out over time. When you feel like you're being coerced into giving more than you really want, whether that's with force or emotional manipulation or whatever, you're being used and you'll eventually resent it. Anytime you try opening up, you're acting off character, selfish, an ass, etc. It's usually the typical pathetic manipulation people pull to make you feel bad for either standing up for yourself or just trying to be you. She's in desperate need of a lung transplant and is always complimenting you about what nice lungs you have and making offhanded comments about how you don't use your lungs much and could probably do okay without them. She only talks to you when she needs something. Edit. Well, this really blew up. Thanks for the upvotes. Edit 2. Thanks for the silver. She uses her emotions and body to get what she wants from you. Makes you feel like you need to spend more time, money on her with her. She doesn't understand the word no. A girl once called me her happy pill, a nickname her therapist created cause I genuinely made her life so much better, but she cheated on me anyway. My friend told me that you only take a pill when you need it, and I've lived by that and use that as a filter for all my relationships. If you feel like you're being used, and you can't have the conversation about it with her, they contact you when they need something. Unkind and unloving treatment. Blaming you for her unhappiness. At least that was my now ex-wife. She's always making posts telling her friends where you took her for dinner, birthday, holidays, vacation and what gifts you've given her. But never once does she say anything about any unique qualities she finds attractive in you. When you realize you are there for her more than they are for you. Divorced Redditors. What is the craziest thing you or your former spouse did after divorce? My ex-husband started dating his step-mom, who has been in his life since he was 11 years old. His step-mom and him are still together almost 5 years later. His step-mom confessed her love of my ex to his dad a few years ago and they have since divorced. The dad is now dating a 21-year-old. I know all of this because I'm still close friends with my ex-husband's sister. It's so messed up and I'm so grateful I left him when I did. My ex-wife told me I could leave my stuff in our house while I found somewhere else to stay. I assumed this was a goodwill effort to keep things as amicable as possible between us. When I went to get my shit she had burned it all. So that was rough. She removed the retaining clips for my windshield wipers, but put the wipers back on the arms. First storm after I got my car back from her, driver's side wiper flew off the car on Interstate 40. Good times. Kidnapped the kids during their weekend visit and moved to a small town in the next state over. It took me 2 years to get them back. She called my company, talked her way up the chain to the president of the company. Still don't know how she managed that, but she's smart, and told him I was suicidal and had threatened to do something drastic at work. Later I learned that she thought this would be a roundabout way of getting my address, which I didn't share with her after I moved out because she's batshit crazy. Called me and pretended he had been hit by a car while we were talking. He even tried to voice the crowd that had gathered around his body. God-awful acting, but pretty funny listening to him try to mimic a woman's voice. Points for trying to be inclusive, I guess. I think he was trying to get me to relive my trauma of being on the phone with a friend who actually had been hit by a car while we were talking. Too bad he didn't realize that hearing the real thing is worlds different than hearing a dumbass try to act it out. Edit. I am so happy that I shared this. Y'all are making me laugh so much. Stalked me for 5 years. Would make fake social media profiles to try to follow me, which I would block endlessly, and would try to find where I worked so she could talk to me. This lady cheated on me with 7 different men 2 months after we were married. I kicked her ass to the curb and made her sign the court papers. When we had our day in court, she cried in the judge's office while I just wanted to get this shit done. After, my dad was with me and he threw $50 at her and told her to change your fucking last name. Good guy Pops. I haven't seen or heard from her in about 5 years, thank goodness. Took the sodas from the fridge as he walked out the door. Dumbfounded. After he realized I was never going back, he told his mom that I had been stealing from the family the whole time we were together. Then he literally put it in writing that I had a key to his parents' home and would sneak in and take his dad's guns and his grandmother's jewelry, and that he had been powerless to stop me. It was always his druggy sister. Always. Anyone with eyes could see it, but no one in the family wanted to believe it. All I wanted was custody of my son. I gave her everything else except one of our cars. She fought me through 5 hearings, I won. She never came to see him again. After years of telling me she wanted a child, that she wanted to be a mom, that her life's dream was to be a som, she got pregnant with the first guy she slept with while we were getting divorced and put the kid up for adoption even before it was born. This was a long-standing thing with her. She always wanted something: car, house, dog, cat, marriage, etc. And the second she got it, she immediately hated it. Wife cheated on me. When I confronted her, she grabbed a kitchen knife and threatened me. I told her to go ahead. She put it in my chest just deep enough to draw blood and cut down to my belly button. I hit her on top of her head, she fell to the ground. I left and, after signing papers, never saw her again. It's been 24 years now. When I told my ex-husband I wanted a divorce, the next day after I went to work he packed our entire house into a U-Haul and put it in storage. Even with a court order he refused to give my stuff back. I left my marriage with the clothes on my back. Years later he decided he was above the courts because he got away with that and took our son across country telling me he was moving with 1 day notice and told me I couldn't do anything about it. Of course I promptly hired a lawyer and we went back to court and he lost joint custody, but it took a year of fighting, chasing him down, and not seeing my son. There are more stories, but those are probably the worst. Laundry list, but my favorite was his sister sent a Facebook message to all of his contacts the day of our separation, including my family. Before we announced anything, her message stated everyone should immediately delete me, and if I said anything about why we separated I was lying and not to listen. Basically this created a lot of curious questions and a lot of laughs. Died of a drug overdose. To be fair, her drug addiction was the reason for the divorce, so maybe that isn't too crazy. Called me on my birthday 2 years after divorce offering to make it special and was quite insistent that I take her up on that opportunity. Was not amused to find out my girlfriend, now wife, had heard the entire conversation on speaker. And #X200B. Good times. I was sending $600 a month to support my daughter because she's the only thing I give a shit about. My ex texts me and tells me I need to be sending $1,200 a month because she's broke and can't pay her bills and I should feel guilty about it. She left me for another guy while I was on deployment. I told her to go fuck herself, call my lawyer. We remained on good terms and still celebrate holidays and birthdays as a family. His 2 youngest kids, with his current wife, call me aunt, and my youngest calls him uncle. Remained friends. She wanted the divorce and after it was done she cried inconsolably into my chest while I hugged her. Kind of a mindfuck for me.